So we'll stick with the Patriots beating the Denver Broncos 10-7. Did you hear about the snow? Did you hear about the conditions?
I know. If only there was an astute, observing commentary team that pointed that out to us.
Dude, I mean, I thought I laughed when we started talking about it on WhatsApp. And then when I legit went on Twitter or X, I suppose, and it was like the whole world was talking about it, I was like, oh, I thought for a minute we were like cutting edge, but we were like the only people that had noticed it. Man, he is getting drilled at the minute, and he's how's he gone from like the guy Tony Romo to now?
I don't know if this is a weird comparison, but like, say we take CJ Stroud, who won Rookie of the Year, right? And now he's completely fallen off. Romo, to a degree, has come in early, obviously made an impact, but fallen off. Whereas you see like certain players who take time to develop, but they've had the talent. And we spoke about Tom Brady in the chat as well, how last year he probably wasn't particularly well received. But when you have that much skin in the game and knowledge, now everyone's loving his insight and he's got natural. So I think maybe Romo's just fallen into this trap of like, it's what like the whole predicting plays as they're being called and, Jim, like it's wore off now. There's nothing else other than that, sadly.
He's getting a bit statey, obviously, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I don't know, do you think that's the network though? Do you think is the network pushing that narrative, I suppose?
Nah, he's probably just, he don't care anymore, does he? He's just with his mate. What does he care?
Him and Jim Marino.
Him and Jim, yeah, exactly.
We've got a good team for the Super Bowl with Florio. His first Super Bowl he's calling, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
What, him and Collinsworth?
Yeah, Collinsworth obviously a few times, but I don't think Mike Florio's ever called the Super Bowl before, and I think he's pretty good.
And who will Florio be teamed with?
Collinsworth.
The
old the sliderino when he slides in. No,
I hate that. I hate everything. I hate everything about that. Jarrett Stidham, he obviously the cameras are on him a lot because of being the backup quarterback. Bo Nick's not playing this game, and it did feel like, Adam, in that first drive, it was like, oh, this could be a long day for Jarrett Stidham. Second drive, he comes out surgical, real good. Like, it felt like the nerves sort of evaporated from him, and it definitely very quickly became a bit of a Denver have got a chance here, because if he can maximize his ability, and even though he's a backup, you're not an NFL player unless you've got a little bit of something. Come on, like he showed that something, didn't he? And he put up a good fight, I thought.
Yeah, I think. Well, certainly in the first half, he kind of like he had a few plays. The big play to Marvin Mims, obviously over the top, was great, and then the touchdown for Cortland Sutton was good as well. And there were times where he looked a bit rushed and a bit sort of out of his depth, but at the same time, he actually looked all right in some plays. It kind of felt like from that first half, you sort of felt to yourself, he was probably only going to get them 14, 17 points tops. So it was always going to be like a really limited kind of quarterback performance compared to what most starters are, which, to be honest, is kind of what we all thought, didn't we? Really? I mean, that's kind of what you would expect from a backup. So yeah, I thought he did okay. In that first half, it was all right. But yeah, I mean, it just
didn't have a run game to lean on, did he? RJ
no,
Harvey,
the run game just sort of disappeared.
Didn't really. If J.K. Dobbins plays,
yeah, possibly. I mean, you sort of think, he's a slightly bigger back as well, isn't he, compared to Harvey? So obviously you've got a slightly different option. I felt like Bidet and McLaughlin just didn't really do anything at all, which I was a little surprised about. I was surprised that there wasn't more run plays, more variations from Sean Payton. I thought that was something that he might try and bring in a little bit, but it's like McLaughlin and Bidet only had 5 attempts, I think, out between the two of them. It just
5 attempts for 15 yards.
Yeah, it just wasn't a lot, and was just a bit of a surprise. But yeah, I felt like Stidham did pretty much what we thought he would do, and kind of just looked okay. But yeah, what more can you expect from him?
We're obviously going to talk a lot about the Patriots in the next coming weeks, so try and stick with Denver a little bit, Sky. But one of the big things that people are going on about, and we touched briefly on this last week, and then we sort of said we'll put this away, probably a bigger discussion at some point. But I do think it's relevant now, though we can have a big discussion about it, is that Sean Payton goes for it on that fourth and how many it was. They don't go for the field goal. Really, field goal probably ties the game. Well, to people's thinking, they go, well, if they had that, they would have tied the game and then it would have gone to overtime. Well, other things may have happened. We've seen the trend this year of more coaches, Ben Johnson in particular, the Chicago Bears, going for it early on fourth down, and this trend of it. And it's naturally within the media, everyone's sort of going, I just don't think you should be doing that. Like, live for another day, get the points. You need to see where you're at, mid third quarter, fourth quarter. That's when you can start going for on fourth down, and then you're not missing them points that you ultimately didn't get. Now that in the other game, Matt Stafford had one where he ran it and it completed it and it was fine, but it was a bit of it was a stray Matt Stafford run. We don't see that very often. Why do you think this trend has changed? And especially Ben Johnson, brand new head coach, tries new things, aggressive from that culture. Sean Payton's, he's a tenured coach. He's been around the league a long time. Like, what has been the change?
I think a lot of the older coaches fall into this trap of like not wanting to, be caught by the side while things move along. I was quite surprised that Sean Payton went for it, given sort of, I don't know if you want to call it bad luck, but the Saints had quite a few notable, we could sit here and name at least 4 games over the, that 10-year period where it came down to fine margins. So I was quite surprised he didn't take the points, especially with, like Adam said, with a backup. I get that, like, you've seen how well the Patriots, have done defensively in terms of the pressure that's been put up on those first 2 games. And then you have Stidham rolling out on fourth down. Like, if you run it up the middle, maybe. But then again, that ties into what you guys said, that they didn't have an inside runner. They only had runners who could do outside zone. There was no J.K. Dobbins. But again, that would lean you to go towards take the points while you're in the position, especially knowing that the conditions could change. So, yeah, I think it was just more getting caught into the trap of, everyone else is doing it. So maybe we need to, because we know the Patriots could get hot at the right time. But in the end, it worked out well for us, because you saw with the play calling with Vrabel at the end, we're just killing clock. I think it was always quite comfortable to know Denver weren't going to score because of the conditions, but also because they couldn't move the ball. So, yeah, to answer your question, though, just reiterating what I said, I think it's just coaches wanting to maybe ignore the analytics, but go for what sort of the sexy, trendy thing at the time.
Do you not think it? Do you not think it is the analytics?
I think
the analytics is telling them to go for it. He's 4 from 1 around the 20-yard line. Yeah. If they lose that,
to go for it.
But not with a backup and no inside runner.
Well, that's not the analytics, is it?
The analytics are not looking deep enough. Then you've got a backup quarterback.
The analytics are not going to go, you've got a backup quarterback. The analytics are just going to, it's just math. The analytics are going to tell you the analytics. Yeah, what the stats, the chances are of you making it. That's all it's going to tell you.
But again, if no sports team can be ran on data alone. It is a little.
No! I think he's an idiot. I agree with you guys. I think he was stupid for doing it. But what I'm saying is, I think what has probably happened is that he's gone. It's 4 from 1. We're around the 20-yard line. If we don't get it, well, the Patriots are going to be around the 20-yard line, which is further back than what they would be from a kickoff. I think it's like that simple. I think he's kind of gone, my defense will stop them from scoring. So let's go for it because we're nearly there. I think it's that. But I have to say, and it'll come up with the Rams game as well. It's just, I don't get it. Just go 10-0 up. You're a 2-score game, 2-score game ahead, 10 points ahead. A lot of people can talk about the conditions later on and what happened. Both teams offensively were crap in the first half. They were.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you're in a tight game. So why are you not taking it? Why are you not just getting up to 10 points and then just work your way from where you are at that point? And realistically, the way the game had gone, and because of the conditions, if that had been 10-10, obviously we're not going to know this, but if it had been 10-10 and went to overtime, chances are the Patriots would have won it anyway. But it just feels like give your backup quarterback and your offense every possible advantage. And that possible advantage was an easy field goal to go 10-0 up and be leading. And you don't know what that does. That's more pressure on the Patriots. You've no idea what that does to them. So it just seemed like a mental idea and crazy.
We're going to have to talk about it because you said it. When it got bad, the snow, it was crap. It wasn't a great game in the first place. And then with the snow, it got really,
worse.
Really bad, really worse. And
yeah.
I know, all joking aside, Romo going on and on and on about it. It is one of the most mental time lapse of how bad it got so quickly. And it just showed it. It just shows it just stopped play completely. And we can't. He said it on the thing, and it gets lost because everyone was like, "Shut up, Romo." But it is, of course, it's worse in the stadium. We don't feel the wind at home. The wind, the wind was insane, and I do feel a bit. We've spoken about this because we've talked about it between us about the next few Super Bowls. This one being in San Francisco, the next one being LA, the next one after that being Atlanta, California, 2 warm weather states. So far indoors, I think it's indoors, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, so far as indoors. Atlanta's definitely indoors.
Yeah.
The problem is we haven't got a huge amount of stadiums that are indoor, and secondly, states that are gorgeous all year round. I mean, Florida is pretty much gorgeous all year round. You can have in Tampa and Jacksonville, etc. But the formidability, it's very it can become rain and storm rather than snow and cold. It becomes rainy and stormy. It does feel like it gets a bit repetition with where the Super Bowls are and a bit dull and boring. But when games like this happen, isn't it just a bit more of an exclamation point of like, we do not want a Super Bowl that is in the northern states. We can't have it in Seattle. We can't have it in Pittsburgh. We can't have it in Philadelphia. We can't have it in these places where it can get dramatically cold. Green Bay. I mean, a lot of the northern state teams do have covers. Minnesota being one of them, Detroit being another. Like it does get dull being in the same places, but we don't want games like this for the Super Bowl, do we?
I don't know, Adam. I actually don't mind because, like, you look at the Pats Rams 13-3 defensive was low scoring. That was indoors, but people still found a way to complain that it was it was defensive. And then you had the one in MetLife when the Broncos got blown out by Seattle. The bad weather didn't even happen. I think though the only issue is that in my ideal world, you would just rotate between every stadium, right? And then it's potluck and it's fun. But I get what you're saying, that because a lot are indoors, if there was a year where you happen to be playing in that, you might feel a bit robbed of that. But then I'm sure like older NFL fans love, like, I think it was 85, maybe 84, 85 Super Bowl, Niners and Dolphins. Everyone went on about the cold in that, but then Joe Cool did his thing. I think it's just all like, I do like a bit of the randomness.
We had last year the Rams Eagles game in the snow. That was a barnstormer.
Yeah,
that was a wicked game.
It's better than the Super Bowl. That game.
I think what you're probably not getting is that that game wasn't a defensive game. That game was nothing. That game was literally nothing. That game was a waste of time and was actually just a complete. Why did we bother? That's what that game was, because the weather had turned it into that, and it kind of, to a certain degree, it becomes farcical because the Patriots for the whole of the fourth quarter
intentionally out a few on the last few drives was like, this is a joke now.
Well, the Patriots in the fourth quarter did nothing. They were not interested. They were literally, it was hand it off to Ramondre Stevenson and just hope he doesn't fumble. That was literally what the game plan was. That's not, what's the point of watching it? That's where the problem is. That's not a defensive game. That's just an offense that has just decided we don't care anymore. And we know that your team can't do anything. So it's just irrelevant. And that's where the problem is. So when you get that 13-3, Or you get the sort of like, you know, who was it when the Rams won? That was like 18-3, wasn't it? You know, when you get these sort of like tight defensive games, at least you're actually seeing offenses trying to do something. You're seeing defenses actually making plays. There is, you know, I mean, I'm very much an offensive, like I like to see attacking football. Fred's the not complete opposite, but he likes defensive football. He always has done. And it's just like, so a defensive game, I find sometimes can get a little bit boring if you're watching it. But that game was just, like I say, you reached the point where there was no point anyone being there and no point them carrying on, because it was just like, who cares anymore? I was writing an article halfway through it that I lost interest. Fred was saying that he was on his phone when we were talking in the WhatsApp. People who watch this and watch all different types of NFL football were bored.
I probably should have caveated that obviously there's never been a Super Bowl in the Denvers and the Seattles. I just meant more, Fred, as in like they shouldn't always be indoors. Of course, you have to think about where you're playing them because it's the end of the year. It's a spectacle. You want everything to be.
Levi's is outside.
Yeah.
Levi's
Yeah.
Stadium's outside.
But because it's in California, it's fine.
Yeah.
So I think that's more where I was leaning towards, is in like, it'd be nice to have a few more outdoor ones. But yes, I get it's not going to be at Mile High. It's not going to be in Seattle because it's too much of a risk. That's why they've never hosted it. They'll probably put it down to, Denver's an older stadium. But I think this is part of the beauty of you go through your conference and there's different conditions. And this is why when we get to the Super Bowl, 9 times out of 10 is a complete contrast in terms of the style of teams, the style of coaching, because you know what path you've got to go through to get there. And now this is why it's sort of like we get this one-off game. But obviously, maybe I'm being a bit more positive about it because my team won. If we'd lost in those conditions 10-7, I would have been annoyed. But let's be honest, if it was in Boston, it might have been worse, because I don't know if you saw the weather there from the time I've left and come back. Like, the snow is insane. All of my friends in Wisconsin, all the sort of, middle America, it's been bad there. People indoors in Carolina. So I think it's just a weird time of the year. And climate change is real, maybe. Maybe we should take that from it.